topic is blood, sweat, money and dummies. Basically surrogates in India, and our group comprises of myself, Inu Anand, Jaikant Singh, Pallavi Guha and Prakash Kumar. And our mentor is Dr. Raivat Devanand. Surrogacy is not a very latest phenomena as per our Hindu mythology. People say that when in Mahabharata there was a miscarriage of Devaki and Mr. Vasudeva, those who are the parents of Lord Krishna. Actually, it was not a miscarriage; it was an embryo transferred to Mrs. Rohini, and then Lord Balrama was born. So people say it was an ancient form of surrogacy.
I would not like to spend so much time introducing the issue because we already had a lecture by Dr. Devanand. One of the most important issues of surrogacy is addressed because the burden of infertility in the world is rampant. Around data suggest that around 15% of couples in the world are infertile. That brings to the scenario that the couples, those who desire to have kids, they need one or the other means to get their desire fulfilled. In the Western and European countries, the scenario of surrogacy is actually illegal. In many countries, apart from, say, for example, in our study, what we found was like the UK, Russia, and US. In some states, in US, are few countries which legalize surrogacy. And there is a whole lot of ethical dilemmas that is going behind surrogacy, whether surrogacy is appropriate. In fact, the Christian religion bans surrogacy in certain countries. And what brings India as hub of surrogacy is that India is a country where surrogacy is kind of legalized, and some bills are being tried to be passed on in the parliament. Debates are going on. Started in 2008 and 2010, another bill came. 2013 also another bill has come, and 14 some debates are going on just to regulate what surrogacy and how it should be done in India. Why we wanted to do this study was that surrogacy as a topic in India is less studied, and the kind of studies that have been done around surrogacy in India is based on the qualitative studies taken from few women, say 2, 5, 10, and particularly concentrated specific geographical region. For example, Anand, which is called as surrogacy capital of India, which is in Gujarat. And there is very little known about who these surrogates are, although there is a dominant research that says that they come from socioeconomic status, but particularly they come from which caste, which religion, or what is their income status, what is their demographic profiles. All these characteristics have been not explored in studies that pertain to surrogacy. So this particular study aims at providing some of the socio-demographic and economic characteristics of surrogates based on the available literature. We have carried out systematic literature review. The further issues on what we have done.
So our research questions are two. Firstly, we explored the socio-economic and demographic characteristics of surrogates in India according to the available literature. And other than that, what all provisions may be incorporated in the ICMR guidelines to be enacted as law to best serve the interests and rights of the surrogates based on a critical evaluation of ART Act 2010. Now our methods were, our objectives are to systematically review the socio-economic and demographic characteristics of the surrogates in India according to the available literature, and to qualitatively review the provisions that may be incorporated in the ICMR guidelines to be enacted as law to best serve the interests and rights of the surrogates. And our methods are, we did a systematic review, so we use certain search terms, databases and search strategies. These are recognizing that the empirical and scarce literature on surrogacy includes diverse terminologies. We were purposely inclusive in our initial search terms. That was very important. We conducted searches in a broad range of databases ranging from JSTOR, PubMed, SpringerLink, and Project News and all. The first broad search yielded us 677 articles, 3 observations and one confidence paper. The search terms we use are like surrogacy in India, surrogate mothers in India, surrogate women in India, Indian surrogates, interviews with surrogate, and demographic profile of surrogates in India, socio-economic characteristics of surrogates in India. Our inclusion and exclusion criteria. The search was conducted in multiple steps. In the first step, we limited our search of databases to articles that were published between 2000 to 2015 to capture the recent work in this area, since this is an emerging issue for a country like India. Due to scarcity of articles in context of India, we included dissertations and conferences paper also. In the second step, articles were screened and divided into two domains. One aspect being the critical review of existing laws, and the second aspect was the articles that yielded us information about surrogates and their characteristics. In this step, we retrieved the full text articles of selected articles, and the findings pertaining to socio-demographic and economic profile of surrogates is presented as findings of the first objective. In the third step, we retrieved the full text articles of all the selected articles. Now, these are the steps in the search, selection, and screening of studies. Data analysis procedure. One-stage approach which combines all individual participant data in a single meta-analysis have been performed, and our total sample size was 67 surrogate units. Data was further entered into MS Excel and then in IBM SPSS 22. Then we performed univariate and descriptive statistics, and the studies included systematic review were analyzed to gather information on socio-economic and demographic characteristics of surrogates. We have given the narratives also regarding socio-economic and demographic characteristics. Now coming to the results. Now first of all, religion of surrogates. We found that 73% of our surrogates were Hindu, followed by around 19% of women as Christians, and rest only 7.5% were Muslim. And age group of surrogates, 46% of surrogates ranged between had age between 25 to 30, and 17.9% of surrogates were in age 30 to 35. And here you can see one very important point, that 16.4% of surrogate women were 35 plus. Why is it striking is because our law says that a surrogate can be between 20 to 35 years of age. But here you see 16% of women surrogates were above age 35. Clear violation of this law. Next, marital status of surrogates. 86% were married, and you see 7.5% of separated women were surrogates. And apart from that, only 4.5% widow and 1.5% divorce. Then educational status. You see it here very clearly. It shows that surrogate women are coming from a very, very low education. 21% are illiterate, means they cannot read, right? Now imagine how they would have read in this consent form and all. Next. Surrogate's occupation. Most of them were housewives, 44%, and then 32% were informal. Surrogate's husband's occupation. 57% of surrogates' husbands were in informal sector like auto driver and somewhere in very manual labor kind of things. Next. This is the systematic literature review.
We have actually presented only 5 systematic review, although we carried a little more than that. The study done in Gujarat, Anand, that states that the family income ranged from 2,500 rupees around in that world, and the occupation of most of the surrogates were informal, contract work of unemployed. Actually, the systematic literature review data which we are trying to present is based on each of the studies, and the earlier one which we presented was collected from various studies, information of each of the surrogates. And some of the quotes also are very striking here. You could also see that who chose to do this. It indicates that the surrogates do not actually want to do it, but out of certain circumstances they were forced to do. They were forced to be surrogates. Another study done in Western India that suggested that non-educated beyond higher secondary level, all surrogate mothers were facing household economic difficulties, because of ill persons, they have to go for this kind of livelihood options or income options. And family income of those surrogates range between 3,000 to 6,000 per month. One quote from this study suggested that this process is so distressing that I would not have done it even if someone paid me 10 times the remuneration. It simply indicates that they are the victims of circumstances. And another study done in Mumbai that suggested that 30 to 40% of surrogates mothers are separated. It may have some different implications. Maybe they were divorced after they were into surrogacy, or whatsoever. Maybe certain reasons for this could be for this study. One of the quotes that suggested that I studied very hard in the 7th standard and got first class, but I had to give up school after that due to financial constraints. This particular surrogate could study only up to 7th standard, and she could not study because of financial constraints. Such similar findings actually were found in most of the studies. We will not like to actually dwell on so much on this because of lack of time. These are the findings from the Assisted Reproductive Technology Regulation Bill 2010. We actually qualitatively evaluated the bill, and some of our concerns that we consensuously found are presented here. ART is a welcome step because surrogacy is legalized in few countries. Over the years, the draft has been revised and modified, and the bill ensures that the surrogate undergo full screening for communicable diseases which may affect the child. The age of surrogate is specified from 21 years to 35 years range. It's a affirmative step. With these 3 points we found as progressive regulations. The loopholes we tried to find in we observed in the bill was like section 21 of clause 1 mentions written consent and informed consent from the surrogate. We think that the surrogates are from socio-economically backward classes, as evident from our findings. Their access to education and information is limited. They hardly know that they are getting into what they are getting into. There has to be some measure to actually communicate the surrogates in terms of what are the effects of these process of counseling, home visits, or something like that. Section 23 clause 5 mentions that in case of multiple pregnancy, patients should be immediately informed about implications of fetal reduction. It bluntly bypasses the surrogate whose opinion is unheard. Section 34 clause 1 says about monetary compensation to the surrogate, but it doesn't prescribe the process of transaction, or neither specifies a standard minimum amount given to the surrogate. There is hardly any clarity here. What is the amount should be given to the surrogates, and what are the appropriate amounts? Nothing of that sort is mentioned in the bill. Section 34 clause 5 limits the surrogacy 5 live births in their entire life, but doesn't take into account the number of pregnancies. Maybe the number of pregnancies should be more than 5. That's not mentioned in the bill. Section 34 clause 13 requires the surrogate to be duty bound to follow a certain lifestyle for the safety of the fetus till birth. This violates physical integrity and personal freedom, above all to the making her a mere puppet or bondwoman in the hands of so many individuals driven by power and money. In some of the studies, the qualitative quotations we found was like in Anand there is a hostel where all of the surrogates live together. One of the surrogates wanted to visit a little child, but the institution denied her to even see a child. So such kind of movements are restricted. Rule 6.13 speaks about small risks. They just call it as small risks, which is not actually small, which are actually huge risks. They strike out major health issues such as leuemia due to multiple gestation, early labor, placental dysfunction, low birth weight, etc. These are also, they consider it as a small risk, which is not actually small. The bill has no mention about regulations with regard to extent of drug use on the surrogate and the procedures to be carried out. The surrogates, those who enter into surrogacy, do not even know what is to happen next when they actually sign the contract. There are incidences, each of the surrogates get around 10 to 15 injections every day, which is actually pathetic, and it can potentially harm the health of the surrogate. Some of the missing links which we think could have been incorporated in the bill are like all advisory committee or administrative bodies do not have any representative of the surrogate. which indirectly subdues the surrogate's rights. There is no representation of any surrogate in any of the committee. The guidelines are meant to provide maximum benefit to the infertile couple, which in a way promotes consumerism. The whole article actually tries to give all kind of benefits to the client as such, but not the surrogate. The consent of spouse is limited to married couple, while it doesn't mention about unmarried ones. And some of the findings, key findings.
So these are the summary of the ends now.
This is your last slide?
Yeah, one or two slides.
Okay, so this actually officially ends, so I should stop here. So just very quickly, like 50 seconds, summarize this.
Okay. Average family income of surrogates was 3,300. Majority of surrogate mothers were Hindu and they had a very low education and all. So basically, we found out that the surrogates come from a low education, low socio-economic background, and actually they were kind of vulnerable people. So that's why we went to critically evaluate the ART bill, that whether it safeguard a surrogate or not. If not, then where are the loopholes? So that was the link between our two objectives. First of all, to just get the information, demographic and socio-economic, and then to check in the ART bill that whether it is safeguarding or not. And if it is not, then where are the loopholes and where it can be further modified. And
in light of what we have studied, we further thought that there could be some other studies based on what we have explored. The first one could be to understand the lived experience of surrogates and to understand their attitude about surrogacy before, what they thought before taking up surrogacy as a livelihood option or economic option, and what they think after they gave delivery or they were surrogates. And one study could be easily done by interacting with the key informants, the stakeholders involved in the process of surrogacy, about what are the issues that are important to actually address about surrogacy. And we have a lot of limitations in the result because we heavily rely on the published literature that we have reviewed, and this result cannot be generalized. This is just an overview of who the surrogates are, and this necessitates the research further. Very few articles have been published actually, and some articles, as I mentioned, focused on publication, availability and selection biases are a potential concern for meta-analysis or individual participant data which we actually have carried out. One of the limitations is we are dependent on what literature says. This is a key bias. Thank you so much for your questions.